Hi everybody! In today's video, I'm going to share with you 25 types of journaling. So you might not have known that there were 25 types out there. So there's different journaling books that you can buy for specific kinds of journaling, and then there's just different types of purposes that you would use a journal for. So I'm going to go over those in this video. So the first one is bullet journals, and these are my new favorite obsession. I love these so much. I think I've bought 5 of them in the last 2 weeks. So these are, you make them yourself, so they're great for people that are creative. And they're great for people that want the freedom of what goes in your journal. So these go on dot grid paper, and they were actually invented by a man named Ryder Carroll a couple years ago. He was the first person to invent this type of journal, and ever since then, there's been a lot of companies that have jumped on the bandwagon and started making them too. So there's lots of varieties out there that you can buy. So the parts of a bullet journal are yearly, monthly, weekly, and daily spreads. And you can use habit trackers. You can do goal and productivity trackers. So there's an index page at the beginning that you create, and then the pages are numbered so that that's how you can find each section. So like I said, these are great for people that love the freedom of creating their own type of whatever you want to be in there. And they also, they help you organize your life. So they're great for both things. So they are personal and unique to the creator. So this means that you can't really go out and buy a done for you bullet journal. You can, however, find printable bullet journal templates on Etsy, and I actually do make some of these. So what those are, they give you a template of, it's a piece of paper that you print out that has the dots on the background, and then it has shapes and lists and boxes for you to just fill in. Those are for people that don't know what to do. You can just use those for inspiration. Moving on to the next one, we've got the freestyle or the brain dump. I like to call it brain dump because it's just funny. So these would normally go on lined paper, and you can use any type of notebook for this. Doesn't have to be any special journal. But of course, the special fancy ones with hard covers and pretty covers are fun. So these are just, they're like stream of consciousness type of brain dumps, basically, just to get everything out of your head. And then the next one are using journal prompts. And I incorporate these into a lot of my journals and planners that I make and sell on Etsy. So here are 3 examples of those. They're basically just what they sound like. You read the prompt and you answer the question. And these are really good for if you're being guided through something for a specific purpose, for an outcome that you want. And they're also good for people that aren't very creative or don't have the inspiration inside them to think of what they want to write. Planning and organization. So I actually consider planners an offshoot of journals. They're really related since they're, you're writing down information from your head onto paper. So there's yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, and hourly types of planning. And these are not for everybody. You might not want to plan your whole year in advance, but there are some people that need to plan a whole year in advance. But of course, if you just want to do one day at a time or one week at a time, then that's one option for you. Gratitude journals. These are my most favorite. Well, one of them. I have so many favorites, but these are good because they really help your life in so many ways. They help change your perspective, and they help you actually to manifest more things into your life to be grateful for. They're kind of magic that way. So the point of them is to write down 3 to 10 things that you're thankful for every day. And the reason why I come up with that number is because it's easy to come up with one thing, but it's a little harder to come up with 10. So you can choose anywhere in that range, and that's a good number. It's just good to challenge your mind and try to find more things. And you'd be amazed at the things You know, they don't even have to be typical ones like, oh, I'm thankful that I'm healthy, but you can thank the universe for every specific thing that comes into your life in many, many different, forms. And then using journal prompts is also a way that you can use the gratitude journal. And I have a paperback version that's available on Etsy, and then there's the printable version, which is in this picture here, and this is available on Etsy. So they will have journal prompts and then a page that's also for you to just write down, the things that you're grateful for every day. A dream journal. This is an image from my printable dream journal pages that I sell on Etsy. And so these are good for writing your dream details and then the emotions and the feelings that you felt in the dream. And then there are journal prompts to help you interpret the dreams. So the reason why dream journaling is so cool is because, I mean, who doesn't want to know what their dreams mean? But the thing is, you can't really remember them after you get out of bed and start your day. So what you need to do is keep these by your bed, and then as soon as you wake up, you can write them all down. And that will lead to better chances of lucid dreaming, which is where you become aware in your dream that you're awake. So you're aware of the fact that you're dreaming, but you're still technically sleeping. So this is a good way to, people always say it's really good for if you're trying to solve a problem or trying to think about something from a different perspective without having your critical mind involved. So that's a great way to get to that state is to use a dream journal. An art journal. So these are another word for these would be a sketchbook, but you can also journal about your art. Like you can come up with ideas and write down your ideas in there before they actually become a creative the process. So I am not much of an artist as far as this kind of thing goes, so I can't speak from experience, but a lot of people, a lot of creative artists get very much benefit from using a journal. A prayer or a sacred text journal, these are otherwise known as devotional journals. So this is where you take a sacred text book, such as the Bible or any of these, or any of the countless ones. There's so many of them out there. But like you'll read a paragraph or a sentence, and then you can journal about it and decipher it, what you think it means, how it affects your life, and what you can learn from it. An idea journal. So these are really good for business people that need to have a place to write down ideas, or any creative person really. And the best way to have one of these is to find a pocket-sized notebook so you can carry around with you and have a place to put your ideas. Because if you've ever tried to write your ideas down on pieces of paper, we all know that doesn't work because they get lost. And also, it's hard to write down your ideas even in a regular journal because unless you have a separate page for it, for example, in the bullet journal, you could have a separate page just for ideas. That works. But if you just write them down in a freestyle section or things like that, you won't be able to find them unless you go back and read everything. So having a journal that's just for ideas is a very good idea. A memory journal. So another word for this would be scrapbook, but you can also write written accounts of your memories. This is the one on this list that is the most like a diary. So you might have known, if you're old enough, that they used to be called diaries back in the day, and now the word journal has kind of been more of the word that people use. And so what the memory journal is just a place to write down your memories and the things that you did that day. And that's basically what diaries used to be. A goal planner journal. So these are kind of necessary if if you're trying to reach a goal. I mean, it's very, very hard to reach a goal without something to document because you need to write down the action steps. You need to have a goal tracker so that you can hold yourself accountable and so that you can, track your progress. And then these are also good for bucket lists. So you can have a journal that's just for bucket list items. That's a great goal journal. And then you can have different pages that would map out the action steps for each of those bucket list items. Diet and exercise or fitness journal. These are good for if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to stick to an exercise plan. So you can write down your goals and then you can write down the action steps and then you can make the trackers for, how much weight you've lost, how much water you've drank, the food you've eaten, and your thoughts and feelings. Because if you've ever started a new diet or a new exercise plan, you know that you're going to come up with feelings, thoughts and feelings that are going to make it a challenge. And this is one of the beauties of journaling is that you can help yourself get through these problems by writing them down. So when you're doing a body makeover or anything where you're trying to improve your life like that, it's very important to write down your thoughts and feelings. A food journal. So this is also known as meal planning, but you can also use it as a journal. I actually do sell a couple of different meal planners, and they both have sections for the journaling so that you can write down your reaction to food. So keeping a food sensitivity journal is important if you have any types of chronic issues or digestive problems, because this might be the only way that you'll ever find out what's causing these problems. It's very important to know what foods you're eating and how they affect you. So keeping a food journal is a very good way to do that. An education learning journal. I can't even count how many of these I have. I must have 20 of them laying around. So these are where I write down my notes from books, from websites, from courses. These can be used by students or adults. Anybody that's like this picture says, that's life is learning continuously. If you keep learning forever, it's nice to have a place to write these things down so that you're not losing this information. So I have, um, like I said, pretty close to 20 binders and notebooks just full, crammed full. And that means they're so thick that I can't fit any more pages in them. And that's why I have to keep buying more. These are one of the most useful journals I've ever created. And if you're anything like me where you like to learn, or if you have a business, the information needs to go somewhere. It's not going to be able to stay in your head. A travel journal. These are one of the most popular ones that, people know of. People that go on a lot of trips like to use these. They're good for planning trips and they're good for keeping your trip memories in one place. A gardening journal. If you are a serious gardener, this is a must because you can't just randomly do things and hope they work and not know what you did wrong, and then next year you wouldn't remember what you did wrong. And it's a cycle that continues. And the only way to break that cycle is to keep a gardening journal. So you can use it to plan your garden. There are journals that actually have like a garden plot picture on the page that you literally write, you can measure, you can put the measurements on there, and then you can write down what things go well next to each other. So that's what you can do with the gardening journal. And then you can document your results, which is what I think is one of the most important parts so that you can not make the same mistakes. A nature journal. These are very therapeutic and they're good to write down your observations because, as you know, humans are part of nature. And keeping a nature journal is one of the best ways to make that connection with nature. Henry David Thoreau, you might have heard of him. He wrote a book called Walden, where he stayed in a cabin in the middle of the woods. I'm not quite sure where, and I don't remember how long, I read the book, but it was an audio book, so I don't rem it was a long time ago. So I think it was around a year maybe that he'd stayed in this thing, and he wrote down every single day things that he observed in nature. Like he would write down what the animal's behavior was and the plants that were growing around him and how he felt during certain weather conditions. So I'm not asking you to stay in a cabin for a year, but wouldn't it be nice though? And then just keep a nature journal of everything that you like, encounter. But I mean, for most people nowadays, the most you can do is maybe go to a park for a couple hours, take a journal with you. A project journal planner. These are kind of necessary if you own a business or if you're going to be doing some major renovation on your home so that you can plan out what you're going to do and how much it's going to cost and those sorts of things. You can also use one for personal projects, such as if you're doing a major life change or something like that. A junk journal. If you are on Pinterest or Etsy, you most likely would have heard of junk journals. What these are journals that you make out of books that are similar to scrapbooking in that you can use anything laying around that's a paper, like envelopes, notepads, you can use tickets, you can use cards, you can use any sort of like stationery or scrapbooking things. So a junk journal is good for people that are artistic, creative, and you can write on them too. So like you can use it as a journal, but you can also use it as a, a creative outlet. A pregnancy journal. So this is where you would document your physical symptoms and changes or plan for the life after your baby comes. I've never been pregnant, but so I can't really say out of experience what this would be like to use a pregnancy journal, but I can imagine that there'd be lots of they're kind of popular, so there's probably lots of ways that you can things that you can write in the pregnancy journal. A poetry journal. So these are good for creative and artistic people. It's very therapeutic to write poetry. I've written poetry for almost as long as I can remember. I think I was 8 or 9 years old when I started writing poetry. Um, it's it's one of those things where if you want to keep a book of just poems, that's awesome. Or you can write what, your thoughts and ideas and emotions are to help you write the poem. So you can kind of use that in any different ways that you want. A manifestation journal. I've got a couple of these, and here are two examples. So the main points of a manifestation journal should include a section for intention, and that's why you'll see at the top of each of these there's a long box it's meant to kind of be not really fancy, but like it kind of stands out and that's where your intention goes. So it's going to be like a statement of what you want. And then you're going to have to write down your emotions because that's one of the driving forces that makes manifestations happen. When you actually feel the feelings that you would have felt if you had this thing. And then of course action steps. And anything that involves action steps is always easier with a journal. Women's cycles. This is one that I didn't even know about until recently, but I actually use well, I did until I got this book, but I was using an app on my phone to track my period, and then I also learned that there's moon phases that affect everything too, and then you can also manifest according to the moon phases. So this book right here, it's called Cycles Journal, and the website is cyclesjournal.com. And I just got mine like 2 days ago, so I'm super excited to use this. So what this does is it kind of helps you um, sync your. I don't know if I haven't started using it yet, so I don't know how you can sync your period with the moon phases. I don't think you actually have to. I think that's just um, a myth, but I think what the goal is to just become more in tune with your body and with the phases of the moon. As we all know, the moon is very influential on women, on everybody really. So I'm really excited to use this book. So a grimoire or book of shadows is another name for a Wiccan journal. So if you're into spells, rituals, and ceremonies, this is what that book is called. So this is where, you make this yourself too. So this is good for creative people. You don't, I mean, you can buy the book but it's got the blank pages, so you can put whatever you want in there. And then the last section here, the last type of journaling is therapy journaling. So this is good for anybody that has any of these issues. So grief is one of the most popular reasons for journaling because, of course, journaling will help you process your feelings after losing someone. Addictions, chronic illnesses, and with that one, it's obviously journaling is not going to make your illness go away, but what it does is it helps you cope with the stress and it'll help you manage it better. And then anxiety and depression, of course, are always on the list for, journal benefits. If you've been through any trauma, and that's kind of one that I was shocked to learn. When I took my journal therapy course, I learned that a lot of professional therapists will have their clients do journaling. So it's something that everybody should do if you've had trauma. And then for personal development, that one kind of works too, because if you're trying to make yourself a better person, you're doing any shadow work or anything where you're trying to work through your weaknesses. And then PTSD is the last one I haven't gone over yet, and that one is I was kind of surprised about that too because I learned about that in my journaling course. So if you have PTSD, then I would look into journaling. So those are the 25 types of journaling. I would love to see your comments below if you have any other ones that I didn't cover, or if you want to just comment which one is your favorite, that'd be awesome. So I would love to see those below. And give this video a like if you enjoyed it and got any benefit out of it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.